Then we go to the no holds barred match with Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly. Danielson was awesome in this match because he explained how the origin of no holds barred matches and that holds that would not typically be legal in combat are in this type of match. And then he would lose his mind when there was fish hooking in this match. Like, this was totally up the alley of a Jon Moxley. And there is nobody that has married like mixed martial arts style wrestling with pro wrestling better than Kyle O'Reilly, in my opinion. Like, there have been some awful attempts to unionize the two, but Kyle O'Reilly was just in his wheelhouse here. And he also found his new positive, which is bleeding, which we would find out later. Danielson would explain this later in the show, that Kyle O'Reilly does these breathing exercises, and therefore the blood loss doesn't affect his cardio. So this guy could just bleed to death every night. He's fine. Maybe Moxley has taught him these breathing exercises as well.
Yeah, maybe that's
so
the key.
Moxley fish hooks him early while Kyle goes for to manipulate the finger. And Danielson is pointing out that these are illegal maneuvers in normal matches. And then we go to something that you tend to see some.
Are they illegal? We see like
fish hooking?
Yeah. What the fuck is the lockjaw then?
We're talking about in grappling or
okay.
We're not talking about pro wrestling here.
So then what makes this, so this is one of the issues I had. What is the difference between a no hold barred match and a no DQ match? Are they just the same thing?
For lack of a better term, they're basically the same thing. I mean, you can't get disqualified in a no.
So in a regular grappling match, or we're talking about like Naga, you cannot fish hook. Okay, I accept that. But in wrestling, I mean, isn't every wrestling match a no holds barred match then?
All I want to know is if Judo Gene LaBelle ever needed a fork, if he was in trouble.
That is the difference, I guess. It should be no forks barred. Shouldn't
yes.
No utensils barred.
Yeah, a utensils match. Maybe that'll be
utensils fighting championship.
So yes, Marina hands over a fork to Jon Moxley, who begins to stab Kyle, who just bleeds, not to the degree of blood and guts, but it was still quite a lot of blood that the man was depositing here in Newark, New Jersey. Moxley would mount Kyle and stab him in the head, then stab him in the back, and then Excalibur is asked to describe what Jon is doing, and he says he jabbed a fork into the man's nipple. Then there's Kyle gets a reprieve by hitting a dragon screw onto Moxley, and then he would target the knee and go after it. And he's constantly going for armbar attempts. He gets the fork and stabs Moxley. So now Moxley is bleeding, and they do this close up right as this gusher comes out of his forehead. I mean, this couldn't have been more graphic as they're zoomed in on Moxley, and his vein is like protruding here with blood. Kyle then brings out a chain, and the announcers are quick to call back to this being Moxley's downfall. It all in Texas was the chain that Swerve brought. And we see Moxley going to his own ankle lock. Kyle stabs Moxley's hand to break free, and then Moxley hits a curb stomp, which did generate a brief Seth Rollins theme being hummed by the audience, which faded. Then he stomps the chair onto Kyle's arm. So this is our second arm injury of the night. Hits the Death Rider and applies a Kimura, but Kyle holds on to his trunks to prevent the arm from being extended and counters to the ankle lock, stomps the heel, wraps the chain around the foot, and then scissors the ankle. This place went nuts as the ankle lock is applied, and Moxley taps out again, and they went nuts here. 19 minutes and 17 seconds. And after Moxley gets to his feet, he nods his head where you think he's respecting Kyle for catching him. And then as he goes to the floor, he returns attacking Kyle as he's being tended to. The conglomeration runs down. The Death Riders are out. Although Danielson does point out that all the Death Riders were out except for Pac.
The Pac was there afterwards. Brian
he was there afterwards?
Well, Brian thought Pac wasn't there, but Pac didn't end up showing up.
Well, he was there. So Danielson was just working his own.
He's kind of jumped at the gun, you know. Like, I know that's a story you were trying to tell, but he was kind of a bit more blatant about it. So
well, I'm glad you caught that, because I only heard Danielson point out his
because Pac wears black now, Like you still think when I think of Pac, I still think of like Full Gear, Full Gear Pac, but he kind of like just kind of blends in,
He blends in with the crowd. I love this match. I really thought it was tremendous. Like today, sitting down to watch this show, this was the match I was most intrigued by, followed by the tag title match. Like those are the two matches that really stood out to me that I was looking forward to, and this ended up being my match of the show. I just thought it was excellent. Like it was your AEW bloodbath, and I'll have more to say on that later in the show. But I just think like this whole deal with Kyle O'Reilly has been so excellent, and I really thought that this would be Moxley finally getting his win back. So I thought the outcome was a surprise to me, and I really love the incorporation of both making this like a bloodbath, but also all of the submission fighting. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was like a really well thought out match. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff. And this was my favorite match that Danielson called on this show.
Like for Danielson, this is almost his like ideal type of match. It's both technical and also like full of a lot of blood. Two things he seems to love it in his professional wrestling. I'm a little surprised that because when you said that the last match wasn't your match of the night, but another match, I could have sworn it would have been one of the other matches. I didn't expect this match.
Tag title was number 3. Number 2 is coming up, but this was number 1 for me by the end of it.
Oh, tag title was number 3. I see.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Well, for me, it's a toss up between that tag team match and also this one as my matches of the night. For me, it's almost 1A and 1B. They're both kind of hard to pick, but I love this match. I love the booking, first of all. Kyle finally cementing his win, getting a singles victory over Jon Moxley. I thought the differences between the no holds barred match and the no DQ match were a little bit ambiguous, but what I will say is that no holds barred suggests more of a sort of submission match, right? Which this was certainly a great example of.
With a fork.
With the fork, yeah. Just a tremendous display, I thought, of what makes Kyle O'Reilly so special on the AEW roster. This whole month with Jon Moxley has just been a tremendous showcase. Dragging Kyle O'Reilly from the depths of the Paragon, dragging him from this like comedy thing he's trying to be in the conglomeration, just putting him on this pedestal that he deserves to be at as just a technical wrestling killer in this company. So they did such a great job. Moxley did such a great job of that. I would have loved like a probably a pure submission match as well, but having a Jon Moxley fork in there just kind of like elevates this to feeling something a bit more engrossing and hard fought. I might have my criticisms of like overuse of blood, certainly on this show later on, but in this instance, it was the first match to feature blood, and I thought it was great. Do you have something to say about that?
I was just gonna say, and we had 3 bloodbaths on this show, and I can point out any one of the matches I can look at and argue that like it worked. But the totality of it all, like I certainly felt it by the end of the main event where we had 3 bloodbaths and they were reserved for like 3 of the last 5 matches. Yeah. It was a lot by the end of the show when you added it all up, even though in individuality, you could argue the cage match needed blood. The no DQ match needed blood. Did this one need blood? Maybe not, but it was the first of the 3, and therefore it was the more, to me, effective.
You can certainly argue for each one possibly not needing blood, right? I feel this one needed the most because I personally felt most invested in the storytelling of this one. I mean, also you just came from like just the incredible visual of blood and guts, and if you're going to introduce a fork into this no holds barred match, I mean, it kind of comes with the territory. But that'll be up for debate maybe later on. It's just like, to me, I appreciate that they didn't go 50-50 booking with any of this stuff. This whole feud has been Kyle O'Reilly getting the better of Jon Moxley. They never shied away from that. So at this point, like Kyle O'Reilly is the Jon Moxley killer. He's the Death Riders killer. And I hope that never changes. So, great story that they managed to tell from beginning to end here.
I agree. Again, it was my match of the show. November on the Post Wrestling Cafe will include Rewind Away, looking at some of the biggest retirement matches in pro wrestling history with selections from All Japan Pro Wrestling, WWE, and Stardom, among others. Plus, we'll have reviews of TNA Turning Point, UFC 322 from Madison Square Garden, and the Tanahashi Final Homecoming. John and Wei will be taking all of your questions on this month's installment of Ask Away, and John gets together with Brandon from New Jersey for a Season 4 retrospective of 90210. All that and so much more. Join now at postwrestlingcafe.com. $6 gets you in the door.